you want to have a cool offer. But if you're listening to this and you're 2 weeks out from Black Friday, it might be very daunting to be like, oh, Black Friday's in 2 weeks and Cyber Monday's right after it. And how the heck am I going to do this? Black Friday is at this point, it's not, I mean, it is a day, but it's not a day, right? Like it's whatever you want to make it. And so you can start early, you can extend it past. It's so easy to go past Black Friday and Cyber Monday and say, you know what? The holiday spirit is strong in us this year. So we've extended our sales promo until the middle of December. Who cares? Like don't limit yourself just because Black Friday is a day.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast brought to you by Entrepreneur.io.
What's up, Indies? Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. This is episode 193. I am your host, Jack McCarthy, and with me is my awesome co-host, Mr. Ed Isola. Ed, what is going on, brother?
It's almost the most wonderful time of the year. So,
ooh,
I just thought of that on the spot, but there you go. The most wonderful time of the year is approaching, and it means we're diving into probably the most wonderful sales promo of the year as well.
Do you know what we're talking about? We are talking about Black Friday. And there are a ton of reasons that artists should be paying attention to Black Friday. I feel like we cover this, once or twice a year right around this time. And we're trying to get a jump on it this year to help you guys, our listeners, get a jump on planning out a Black Friday strategy for your music career, to give your fans some cool stuff, and to take advantage of one of the biggest retail shopping experiences at this point. I don't even want to call it a day, of the whole year. And there's a whole lot of opportunity that you don't want to miss out on. So before we kick it off and kind of give you guys some insights into some of the things that we would recommend and how to think about offers and stuff like that, I want to talk about why we're talking about Black Friday at all. And like I said, we've covered this on other episodes, and we'll link to those in the show notes so that you guys have a ton of content to dig into. But this year in particular, Black Friday is going to be really, really interesting. And that has a lot to do with what's been happening kind of year over year here. And we were just doing some digging around prior to sitting down to have this chat and looking at what Black Friday 2020 looked like to get some intel and, some ideas into what 2021 might look like. And man, it was wild. Black Friday 2020 was apparently the second largest spending day in history. And it was only dwarfed by Cyber Monday 2020, which is insane.
It's so crazy because pretty much what Jack just said was that like the biggest spending days in history were Black Friday and then the Monday after it, which is Cyber Monday. If you aren't aware of that, it's kind of like a package deal, But I just think that's a crazy stat in general because one, it reflects how much people are spending online. I mean, last year was amplified by everyone being kind of locked down, I would guess, but there's a trend towards online spending, which is great for independent musicians who have fan bases all over the world. It's also just crazy to think about. Like, I didn't realize until a few years ago how important Black Friday was in terms of sales promos. And I mean, that stat itself just really underlines like you should be doing something here because it's the biggest spending day, the two biggest spending days, and you want to get in on it, you want to create those customers.
Yeah. I mean, you make a good point. Specifically about online sales on the increase, on the up. Last year, e-commerce sales, online sales for Black Friday were up 20%. Now, yeah, a lot of that had to do with, retail being shut down and there being lockdowns and stores being closed for in-person shopping and stuff like that. But that's a crazy increase.
It is. And I think it signals too that like people are super comfortable. This isn't going to be a shocking statement. People are super comfortable buying online. So it's just like you have to have something out there. And the other stat that we underlined was that 52% of consumers in 2020 took advantage of an early deal. So you have Black Friday, you have Cyber Monday, but these offers were rolling out in advance, and people were taking advantage of them. So not only are people willing and demonstrating that they're going to buy online, they're also doing it as soon as they really possibly can. As soon as the offer hits, people are into it, which I think kind of sets the table for a lot of the stuff we're going to touch on later in the episode.
Yeah, totally. That's a good point too, especially, taking into account how this might, how that stat, about people taking early offers last year, how that could, carry over and likely will carry over into this year. It seems like every year, the holiday sales bump back further and further and further. And, November 1st, you start hearing about them and stuff like that. I think this year in particular, with a lot of supply chain issues and, stuff being talked about with regards to the economy, I think even more now, people are going to be wanting to, take advantage of things when they can or when they perceive that they can. So it gives artists, it gives businesses in general an opportunity to really try to get a jump on the sales period and elongate it, which is pretty cool. Just looking at online alone, Shopify actually published some stats about Black Friday 2020 that I think were pretty wild. We were seeing Shopify reported 5.1 billion brought in over Black Friday, Cyber Monday. 5.1 billion US dollars. That is absurd.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And the other stat that I thought was really interesting was that they were seeing a 50% increase of customers coming through Shopify stores, a 50% increase compared to the previous year's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so 2019. So that's a crazy jump. Obviously, that had a lot to do with, the acceleration of online shopping adoption throughout 2020 with COVID and all of that. So I thought that was really interesting. 76% year over year growth in sales driven through Black Friday 2020 compared to 2019. So that's wild. So if we see these trends kind of continue, it obviously, all of that just points to like, okay, if you missed the boat last year, or if, you didn't quite hit the mark that you wanted to, or if you just killed it last year, you definitely want to be paying attention and getting your Black Friday prep in now. So that's kind of the rundown of why we're even talking about this. And it's definitely an exciting time for us at Indepreneur, for all of our clients at IndieX, at the agency. This is really around the time, and even prior to today, when we're recording this, like we've already been doing ideation and brainstorming and strategy with a lot of our clients on, okay, what are we going to be offering and what is it going to look like? And, it's kind of an exciting time to start planning this out all early and really laying out exactly what you're going to need to be doing ahead of time and what you're going to need to prep. So I think that that's a great place to jump off here and start talking about is, getting that prep work in ahead of time. And so much of that starts with coming up with an offer. What is your offer going to be for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday sales, whatever you want to call it? So yeah, let's kick it off there, Ed.
Yeah, well, I think a great place to start, just jumping in right there, is that consumers and fans, everybody's so conditioned now to know that Black Friday and Cyber Monday equals huge discounts. So people are kind of predisposed to buy. So I think that's just a great thing to keep in mind, is that people are ready to buy, and those stats highlighted it, but you want to have a good offer. And so we're going to jump into what we think are good offers and kind of how you can maybe do advanced offers, that kind of stuff. But I think we would probably start off both by saying that it's really important to have cool offers, not just like, here's a discount code at the store. So this episode is intended to help you guys kind of think about, okay, well, what do my fans want? How do I present that offer to them? How do I give them little add-ons to that offer, and really use sales funnels to kind of maximize your revenue and your customer relationship as much as possible. So keep that in mind as we're going through, but it makes sense to kind of maybe first talk about planning. And I think the first thing that when you're planning out your Black Friday offer, I'm a pen and paper guy, so I always like to sit with my pen and paper and write down what I'm thinking. And we're still a few weeks out from Black Friday, so you have time to do this. But I think there's a couple of core pieces when you're drafting your Black Friday offer that makes sense. One is some kind of core unique product. Like I said, we're going to test a discount this year, but it's not our main offer. It's like a follow-up offer. So have some kind of core special offer plus free bonuses. It's the same. I honestly use the same recipe as I do at the end of permission offers for Black Friday. So for example, this year we're running a Christmas sweater that comes with a free 2022 calendar and a sticker. You're kind of outlining the offer. But I think first a good place to start is to write down what you have in stock, especially if you're doing this last minute planning a couple weeks out, and then think about how you can make those unique.
That's a good point for sure. Especially like if you're kind of like a last minute kind of guy or gal and you're like, oh, I don't have time to create new products or come up with a new piece of merch. Like it wouldn't be able to get to me in time. Looking at your inventory as it currently stands is a really great place to start putting together, what your offer might be. And then you can combine things into, for example, a bundle. Maybe you've got bundled merch from your last album or your last tour that you could put together into, a special Thanksgiving bundle or something like that. And, discount it down by presenting the total value of everything that would be in it. And then if you want to, shaving off a little bit of a percent off, or add on more value by adding, free bonuses like Ed was saying. That's kind of a very loose framework of how to think about creating offers with the products that you already have. If you're interested in learning more about offer creation and, running sales promos all year round, because, offer creation applies to any sale that you're running. We've got a whole training on this Inside of Indie Pro, generating sales all year round. So if you want to check that out, it's Inside the Indie Pro training library. I'll leave the link to that in the show notes. That goes over, piece by piece with resources for actually charting it out on, worksheets and things like that. But I think that's a really good place to start. And I want to kind of go out on a limb here also and say, like you were saying, Ed, like for 502s, you're testing a discount, a store-wide discount during Cyber Week. I want to say, like, just like you were saying about people being primed to buy during Black Friday, holiday sales, if you're really finding yourself in a jam where you're like, I can't come up with a dedicated offer, I don't have enough stuff, there's not enough inventory in my store to do anything particularly unique. And I would challenge you to break out of that frame of thinking. But if you really, really are stuck, like you can get away with at least getting a discount offer out there, whether it's 30% or something like that. You're going to have to be a little more competitive with that price slashing and really look at your margins. But you can get away with that. And that's like, bare minimum. Like, I think if I were talking to you right now and you said to me, oh man, like I'm not going to bother with Black Friday. I would rather you be like, okay, it's either I'm doing a discount or I'm not doing it at all. And I don't have any other options. I would prefer you to go with some kind of offer, go with the discount, just so that you can take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. A unique offer is the best. And then a discount's below that. And they're both way above just skipping Black Friday entirely. So I think something too is like,
I wanted to point out the obvious there just to like, quell anybody's fears.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a really good comment because it's easy to say like, oh, they're talking about making unique offers. I can't do it. I'm just going to wait till next year. And it's like, you shouldn't skip Black Friday at all. Even if it's not going to be for you, if you're kind of starting out and you maybe have a couple of people that might buy, it's still a great opportunity to kind of start priming people for future years. Our early Black Friday offers were like, we have some vinyl left over, or something like that. And maybe a handful of people bought, but again, you're creating those customers. So I think that like Jack said, if you absolutely can't come up with an offer, like a unique product offer, then, even a couple emails and a couple posts on social media, like, hey, 40% off my store, that's really cool. But I think something that if you're listening to this episode and it's, you're at that point, a few weeks out from Black Friday and you're like, well, how do I put it together? The setup is pretty easy. You want to have a sales page with the product. You want to have the product, obviously, and then you want to have some emails to your list. And that's kind of the bare bones of what you can get away with as a preliminary offer. And when we're talking about making unique offers, you don't necessarily have to go print crew necks or calendars or vinyl or new stuff. Like, I think it was Shay, and I can't remember if this was Black Friday or not. I think it was, or a winter promo last year. She, I believe, went and got a bunch of flannel shirts from like thrift shops and stuff like that. So anybody can pick those up. And then she painted her band name on the back with like a, washable paint. So it's like, that is, to me, I was like, wow, if I was in a bind, that's cool. It's created by the artist. It's probably not costing you more than $10 a shirt to make, and then you can say, hey, I got 10 shirts. I handmade them. Here they are. Like, you can get outside the box and make these cool offers. And I thought that was a really good example of somebody coming up with something that it's easy. You could do that. You could do that on a weekend,
Totally. Yeah, that's you're totally right. That's super smart. Like, Shay is one of our account managers at IndieX at the agency, and this was an offer that she came up with specific to her artist project, her band. And it was so cool. She put it together like with a few weeks to go, I think like 2 weeks to go before the sales started to launch. She was just like, oh, I really need to make this happen, and pulled it off. And that's a great point. Like, you can put an offer together that doesn't involve a lot of, lead time when it comes to, supply or getting inventory. And additionally, like we were saying, like an offer doesn't necessarily equal a new product. Your offers are created oftentimes with the products that you already have, just presented in a different way by the way that you frame the price and the amount of time that people are given for the offer. If there's a discount, if there's a limited amount of them, what's included, so on and so forth. These are all, different ways to take your products and frame them as an offer for a specific purpose.
And there's so many little things too. I think the framing is important. Like, hey, you can get this for this amount of time. Like Jack said, that's important. I'm a huge free bonus person. So, I'm thinking like, oh, if you have back stock of CD, say for the next 48 hours, you can get a signed copy of our CD. Plus it also includes, a signed Christmas photo of the band or the singer. And it's like, that's easy to execute. You go up to Macy's, take a picture of Santa, print 20 of them, sign them, you're not spending much money there. So there's a lot of ways, whether it's discounts or timeline or little free bonuses that are low in expense to you, that you can take your existing stock and make that a cool offer. But it really is all about the presentation. And I think that, again, if you're listening and it's like, hey, okay, I've decided I want to do something and I need to come up with something fast. Like Jack said earlier, look at what you have and then think about how you can present it. And that's it. You present it via discount code, limited time, limited quantity, or a little free bonus. So item plus one of those four things, and you pretty much have your offer put together there.
Yeah, I think that's like a really solid bare bones approach. And in terms of like the assets that you need to build, like you said, Ed, like a sales page, your checkout in your store, or a funnel if you're wanting to build a funnel kind of checkout architecture for it, email marketing campaigns for your list, and posts on social media and some ads. That's like a solid marketing stack for a campaign around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I think where it really gets fun is when you're planning out, well in advance and you're thinking about these things. You can start to think about, okay, well, like, how can I create different offers for different segments of my fan base? And we talked plenty about segmenting your fan base in our previous email marketing episode that we did. So I'll link to that again if you guys need to get in. But we specifically talk about like segmenting first-time customers versus repeat customers, and subscribers kind of walled off from that. So if you're going to plan multiple offers, you can think about your offers in terms of who you would want to make them to by, these sort of levels of customer warmth. So, if you're running a Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday sale, whatever it might be, maybe you run it for 3 weeks or something like that. Maybe it's a really long sort of push because you've got lots of offers. You can tier those out. So like, in say, the Monday prior to Black Friday through Thanksgiving here in the US, you could run an offer specific to first-time customers and try to get them to buy again for the second time. Whereas, Black Friday through Cyber Monday, maybe you just have a specific offer for, those ascended customers who have already bought from you once or twice before, more than once before. and trying to get them to ascend to maybe a higher ticket offer. So maybe you're putting together, a bundle that costs a little bit more. Maybe it's like a winter bundle, a hoodie, a scarf that comes with a CD, packaged up real nice, and it's limited edition or something like that. That's something that you could look at for those really, really ascended customers. Maybe you've got a membership site like Patreon or a custom build or something like that. Something that I've seen work really, really well, especially around like Giving Tuesday. And if you have a cause attached with your membership, which on any episodes that I've talked about membership, I've probably harped on the idea of like attaching it to something bigger than just you and your music. So I'm not going to get on that podium right now. But if you have some kind of cause, like a charity attached to your membership, on Giving Tuesday, that's a really solid way to get people in the door. So if you've got, a list of ascended customers who have bought from you, let's just pick like high LTV, say people that have spent, over $300 or $400 with you, just pulling a number out of thin air and have bought more than 3 times, and you want to get them onto a recurring sort of model, getting them in the door for a discount, let's say for the first year maybe, and making sure that, if there is a cause or a charity involved, that they know about what that is and why you're doing it. That can be a really, really powerful way to ascend those kind of customers into something more recurring. So anyway, that's just, a couple examples of how you could create offers for different types of fans, and run them, throughout the period of the sales promo.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool there is like you gave a bunch of examples of the offers you can make. I always find it really interesting, and we've talked about this a lot, like almost dissecting how you're going to lay it out. And this is if you're very organizational, planning your offers out, it seems daunting. And, Jack's like, oh, we'll run an offer for 3 weeks and tier it to different people. It's really not. It just takes a little bit of thought. So kind of actionably around what Jack's saying is if, say you listen to this and you're like, okay, well, I already know that I have 4 different products that I could offer for Black Friday and I want to make it to different people. A really great place is to dive back into that segmentation episode we just did. And then segment out your list. I like to segment it out, just say, okay, who has bought what product that I currently have? That's a great starting place. Or Jack said, like lifetime value. But once you get kind of the playing field of who's on your list and what products and what lifetime value they have, then it's as simple as looking and saying, oh, what does this person not have yet? Let me make them a cool offer around it. And that's where you start to get into the segmentation and the tiers by saying, okay, this person has bought all 5 of my CDs. Let me make them a high ticket special offer. This person's bought 2 of my CDs. Let me make them an offer for the 3 that they don't have. And it really just becomes a mix and match almost. Once you know who has and who has not bought what on your list, you just make them offers for what they don't have.
I was just going to say, that's like a really great way to use your buddy system, your fan base, analytically to help you figure out what your offer should be. Because you might be hearing this and thinking like, guys, what the heck? Like, that's a lot of analysis to do and to take a chance like that and guess on like what people would like. But if you go into your store analytics and your CRM, your email marketing platform, and see like, are there a lot of people that have bought all of your CDs? And if there are, like, they might not want a CD again. So it really can kind of work to inform like, okay, these are the things that I might include. And I think that's a really, really good point. And it's not hard to do. It's not hard to look at those filters and start to feel out like, what are these pockets of fans that have bought different things look like? And how can I use that to kind of inform my product and offer strategy?
Yeah. So, there's kind of 2 options that we've outlined. It's like, one is that you just go with a blanket single offer to your entire list. Or if you have a little bit more time, then you can kind of start segmenting them. But once you build the offer out based off what products they do and don't have, then it's just a matter of rolling it out, which is as simple as getting a calendar and saying, okay, I want to start the offer a week or a week and a half before Black Friday. I'm going to make the offer to this segment first and then the next segment. But Black Friday, I think, really dials down to 2 things. One is having a good pulse on what products you have and what you can offer and being creative around packaging those up. And 2 is knowing your list well. So it's probably something, if you're listening to this and you're trying to get ideas, that's where I would start, is like dive into your list and make sure you understand who's on the list, who's bought what, Because as soon as you understand that, you know the rules of the game, so to speak, and you can craft your offers. So, but same thing, you just make unique offers, get creative, bundle them up, bundle your existing products up in ways that people haven't seen them before. And it's really as simple as that. It's just making sure that you understand and looking at your list to make sure you understand what people might want based off what they already have and have not bought.
Yeah, for sure. Something else that I want to touch on is how to pull out more revenue from your sales offers during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And this really, this goes back to just solid sales strategy in general online and building, a checkout that works to increase average order value. So don't neglect the idea of having order bumps as part of your Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales offers. Don't neglect what a one-time offer upsell might look like. I think all of that is really important to take into account, even if it is just, the stuff that you already have in your checkout funnel. Maybe you've got order bumps and upsells in your store on a regular basis. Don't exclude those from, your Black Friday sales. Maybe you want to definitively make it something that happens on a post-purchase page as opposed to like an order bump checkbox on the sales page. That way you can really decorate it and make it specific to the occasion. But I wouldn't neglect to do that. Those are really like profit maximizers, especially in places where you are discounting down. You can make up a lot of that margin when you include these sort of upsells. So I think that that's important to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're already using any kind of sales funnel and you already have things that you use as your order bump, I mean, like Jack said, always include those in there. You'll see additional revenue come out that, one, will probably just make you feel better about the Black Friday offer, like how it performs, but two, is obviously good for your business. So yeah, definitely leave the upsells and the order bumps and the one-time offers, all that kind of stuff in there to make sure that people are seeing everything. Because just because somebody turned down an order bump for your CD 2 months ago, they might take it this time, or maybe they weren't paying attention,
For sure. And to your idea before about using your fans, your list and your fan base to determine what your offers can be, look across your previous sales offers, assuming that you've made some, at what order bumps and upsell take rates have looked like, and consider if, there's not a ton of your fan base that have already gotten that specific product, but it has a really high, take rate on the upsell. Consider using those as your order bumps or upsells in the Black Friday sales strategy, because you have some idea that those have performed well in the past for that same purpose. You can kind of extrapolate that data and then apply that same sort of thinking to what this sales promo might look like. Or if you can't do the product, one-to-one, like picking it out of one funnel and putting it into another, you can sort of apply the same logic of like, okay, well, I've seen t-shirts do really well as upsells versus vinyl for my fans. So I'm going to go with, t-shirts. I think that that's a good way to sort of approach this, to not get overwhelmed. It's just like, look at what's been working for you and then don't break it,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the underlying thing here is like, just take an hour or 2 hours to look at your list, your past products, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And then based off that information, when you have a good understanding of it, craft an offer to make to your list. So like I said, Black Friday is really about, I think, understanding about what your customers have and want, and then making them that offer. So I think another quick thing to maybe underline too is that everything we're talking about, it applies to the entire spectrum of independent artists. So, if you're big or small, I think that sometimes there's two maybe trouble spots. I don't know what you want to call them, but like a small independent artist, grassroots, you might think, well, nobody wants to buy this, right? But even if you have an email list of 100 people, might be a couple people on there that want something. So don't sell yourself short thinking that my list is small, I'm not going to make an offer. Just keep expectations that, your list is smaller, and you probably then don't need to buy 100 of something, right? But don't not do it because your list is small. And on the flip side, a lot of times we see bigger artists just fall back into I'm just going to do a store discount. And time after time, we've seen that unique offers perform better than just a flat discount on the store. So I think those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum worth highlighting. And if you're in the middle, then Godspeed.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's interesting how like those two ends of the spectrum almost have like polar opposite ideas on, for the smaller list, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna bother doing it at all. That's kind of the pain point. For someone who has massive opportunity, it's like, oh, I'm gonna squander this massive opportunity. We've seen that time and time again. And I mean, artists are not the only ones that we've seen, come up with kind of crappy Black Friday offers. You see it out there with all sorts of stores. But I do think that that's a really funny and kind of interesting point. Something else that I wanted to touch on, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Ed, is a lot of people, I've had a lot of our agency clients ask me about this, and I'm curious to know your take, is, and I know there's artists and musicians in our community that have asked too, is should I launch a record or a product around Black Friday, Cyber Monday? And if so, like, what should that look like? And, conventional sort of music industry wisdom often says like, oh, don't launch anything after October. Like, things go quiet or you're competing with the holidays or whatever. And I think that there's validity to that. And I don't want to say that it's totally wrong, but I think there's a lot of gray area for this because we personally have had a number of our agency clients do launches around or on Black Friday for specific products or offers that they were launching. And they've done gangbusters and gone really, really well. And I think at least for me, there's been like one differentiating thing to keep in mind with this. And I want to reveal it in a second, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're releasing an album or launching a record around Black Friday, then it's about your expectations. I think that you said there is some validity around like, okay, if you're dropping an album end of November, you're probably not going to be getting like press and that kind of stuff if that's your goal, which, not necessarily the right goal, but if that's your goal, I think that's where that piece of information comes from. But if you're setting the expectations of like, hey, I want to put this album out, I want to connect with my fans around it, I want to make a cool pre-sale offer, I think Black Friday is a great time to do that, or even just the holidays, because like, again, I almost view launching a record using permission offers and sales offers and that kind of stuff as independent from the time of year, to be honest. Like, if you have a record and you have a connection with your fans and you're going to say, hey, I'm doing a pre-sale for the next 2 weeks, that's only available for 2 weeks, and as part of the special Black Friday thing, you also get this free bonus, people are going to take it. They're already ready to spend, but like, it all comes down to your buddy system and your connection with the fans. So I wouldn't be afraid to launch something just because somebody told you one time that, oh, November is a bad time to launch an album.
Yeah, totally. Your thoughts are definitely in line with mine. What I was going to say is, speaking of expectations, not only about setting your own expectations, but if you're considering launching a product, a new product or a new offer, whether it be an album or a documentary or a movie or, new merch, whatever it might be, I think a solid strategy, at least that I've seen in my experience, is when these come out of nowhere at Black Friday, they may not perform super well, but when they're tiered with a longer promotional cycle that has been leading into it, where there's a lot of anticipation, that's where I've seen, wins get pulled out when it comes to launching a new product. And it also doesn't just die after Black Friday then. So I think that's the important, or I should say one important consideration to make when it comes to like new product releases or albums or music or whatever it might be, anything that's new, setting the expectations with your base, with your audience ahead of time, I think is a helpful approach to take with this. That way it doesn't get overshadowed by everything else going on. And there's some anticipation built up. And this goes again, like you were saying, Ed, like back to your unique sort of your buddy system, what your customer base looks like, where people are at, because you might launch it just to specific people or something. So yeah, I was curious about your thoughts on that, but I totally dig it, man. I think we covered a lot of ground in this. I think if I could give like 3 little pieces of advice, and I would want to hear yours too, but if I could give you guys 3 pieces of advice when it comes to Black Friday, just based on all the stuff that we've talked about on this episode today, is number 1, like start preparing early. And now after listening to this, like get going. Start drafting out those email campaigns, build out the sales pages. Don't make it so that it's something that, is happening the day before Thanksgiving. Because you're just going to be stressed out and you'll probably make mistakes. Something might come off wrong. Maybe the checkout won't work correctly. So starting early really allows you to avoid some of the pitfalls that happen with this. Just to give context, at Indepreneur, we started our Black Friday planning over a month ago now. So we were, midway through. It was even earlier. It was like the second week of September, maybe, that we were really starting getting into the planning phases and then starting to build things out. So start early. That would be number one. I would say number two is be active about it. Be talking to your fans about it. Don't be afraid to put it out there. So don't be afraid to send multiple emails. Don't be afraid to post on social a few times. Add some urgency to it in that way, that it's a message that you want to get out there to people. So don't be shy. That's number two. And I think number three is have an offer. Have an offer that is cool. We've kind of harped on that quite a bit in this episode. So take these nuggets and kind of use them to come up with something that works well for you. But don't bail on Black Friday and miss out on the opportunity to take some of that market share just because you feel like, you don't have something to offer. Come up with something. You definitely can.
Agreed. I think the one thing I'll add to that and kind of just echo and maybe give a slightly different perspective on what you just said was that, one, like we said, think, and I've only got two things. So think about your segments and your list and come up with a cool offer, like Jack said. But then two, tying into that timeline, like you said just now, Jack, you want to have a cool offer. But if you're listening to this and you're 2 weeks out from Black Friday, it might be very daunting to be like, oh, Black Friday's in 2 weeks and Cyber Monday's right after it, and how the heck am I going to do this? I think it's important just to keep in mind with everything we've talked about here, Black Friday is at this point, it's not, it is a day, but it's not a day, right? Like it's whatever you want to make it. And so you can start early, you can extend it past. It's so easy to go past Black Friday and Cyber Monday and say, you know what? The holiday spirit is strong in us this year. So we've extended our sales promo until the middle of December. Who cares? Don't limit yourself just because Black Friday is a day. So having that longevity of the timeline, like Jack just said, make that offer multiple times. I'd say at least 3 emails minimum. Like talk about it, prep people, say, hey, this cool thing's coming, or I'm giving you early access to it, or we've extended the promo because we want to make sure you have a chance to get it for the holiday season. It's all however you want to set it up, honestly. So don't just think that cool offer plus one email equals success. Like there's something to be said for everything we've talked about today, that an extended timeline is very, very important, from getting your fans on the same page to making the offer, to making sure they have time to get the offer, to finally closing it down. So just don't be shy about it, like Jack said.
Yeah, spot on. That was a good change of perspective. I dig that. Well, this is fun, man. I'm excited to see what everybody does for Black Friday this year. Hopefully I come out with some cool new artist merch from bands and people that I dig. Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit more about offers and get into some cool sort of like out of the box offers that we're testing, that we've seen work well, and that you can really use any time of the year. So make sure you tune in. I think it's going to be cool. It might even be something that you can pick up and throw into your Black Friday strategy or bring it into 2022 with you. But I guess until then, see you guys next week on Creative Juice. Peace out, Indies.